awesome would it be to have a principal like that? That is so awesome, man. I think mine drove a Pinto. It's like, that's the kind of principal I had. Just shut up and quit doing this stuff in the hallway. Get away from my Pinto. All right. You guys are probably wondering, what is a truck guy, car guy, doing at a Shelby event? Well, there's actually some very interesting connections that I have to Shelby and the Cobras. In 1923, January 11th, Carol Shelby was born. Exactly 40 years later, January 11th, 1963, I was born. That's weird. Obviously, we're both big car guys, and we both have girls' names. So, I don't know what Carol's parents were thinking, but I've talked to mine a lot about that. Yeah, I got to switch with Joe Coddington. That would be cool. Joe David. Anyway, there's a lot more than that. But first, let me go into a little bit of background here. In 1998, I started doing a show called Trucks. And the idea behind Trucks was to teach people how to do stuff. It was a how-to show, and nobody was really doing anything like that at the time. And part of the magic of that, at first they wanted Trucks to be kind of like a car and driver show, where we test drove new trucks and bolted on tonneau covers and that kind of thing. Fortunately, they left me alone and let me do some crazy stuff. And I started chopping tops and doing some stuff that had never been on TV before. And that opened the door for a whole world of automotive how-to stuff, which then went into Monster Garage and overhauling and all that stuff. Now, the difference was we did a show that was a how-to show because it was about showing people how to do stuff. The reality show, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother conversation. We won't get into that. But we've always tried to keep it as a how-to show because it's important to show people how to do stuff. And so that was the approach of Trucks. And after doing that for 7 years, it became obvious. I was in the music industry for a long time. And I learned one thing, that if you don't have ownership of something, eventually somebody's going to walk in and say, thank you, you're fired. Or thank you, the show was canceled, or whatever it is. And so I knew that somewhere down the line, I had to do something where I had ownership of what I was doing. And so we started Gears. And my wife and I went out on a limb and we started our own production company. And we started doing Gears, which is now in its 15th season. Thank you. And we've got a 200th episode coming up at the end of this season. And some of you might be on that because we have been rolling some footage. So that would be a fun thing. Frank. Yeah. He took my wife for a ride today. I haven't heard her scream like that for years. So, yeah, we need to talk afterwards. Yeah. She already posted it. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, Frank. Yeah, thanks. I guess I need to get a cobra, don't I? All right. Yeah. All right. A lot of people ask, how do you stay on the air that long? What's the secret? And it's pretty simple. First of all, an understanding wife or understanding family or whoever's supporting you. Catherine and I have been together 28 years. Yes. And it hasn't always been that easy. We had a show one time we were doing, and then, yes. We were at some show somewhere, and this is right when Monster Garage was out. So Jesse James was over it at another booth. And he had a bunch of centerfolds in his booth signing pictures. Pictures. And so Catherine is there with me, and I look over there, and there's a couple of dudes standing by her, and they got their calendars, and they're all shaky. And they're like, now, are you Miss March, or are you Miss February? And And she's looking around, and I'm like, oh, you guys need to step away. She's from Kentucky, and she'll pull out a knife, and she will cleave your head, trust me. And I'm tired of burying the bodies, so get out of here. That actually happened, so she was like, yeah. So she has been able to go out to the shows. We've had a great relationship together. We have 2 daughters, and one of them is actually her favorite car, she says, is a Cobra. So, yeah. I just need to teach her how to drive a stick. Yes. Yeah. But like I said, one of the biggest things on all of the shows, my biggest approach, I was a big Bruce Lee fan. Everybody remember Bruce Lee? You know, he was the guy. And the thing about Bruce Lee is that he taught people the secrets. He taught people the things that nobody else would teach. And that was my approach. It was like, you know, because when I was growing up, working in shops, guys were real secretive about some of the secrets. You know, I go, how do you TIG weld? No, yeah, you're a stupid kid. Go sweep the floor. I'm like, I'm a stupid kid. Teach me how. And I had to keep on them. And I realized a lot of these guys were real secretive about some of these skills. And I'm like, it shouldn't be that way. And so my approach has always been to show people how to do stuff. Because if I can do it, you can do it. And I even tell them, it's like, some of this is rocket science. We're using math. We're using geometry. If I can do it, you can do it. And I want to encourage people, because this is such a great industry. And the more people that get involved, the more people keep it going. And the more fun. And I have never seen a group of people that have as much fun as you guys. I've been to Street Rod Nats, I've been to SEMA, I've been to all these things. You guys are crazy. And it's awesome. I mean, seriously, it is awesome. Yeah. You know, one of the things that, getting back into my influences and the Cobra itself, one thing I try to tell people is don't ever underestimate your influence on somebody. This is my own story. Okay, I was about 10 years old, and I was working in a shop for a guy who was just a brilliant fabricator, and I was just sponging knowledge out of this guy. His name was Jim Williamson. Had gone to school with my dad. And he walks in one day, you know, and everything Jim said was like it, because he was, I mean, he could do things with metal, and he really enlightened me about what you could do as a fabricator. And he throws down a brochure for an Arntz Cobra. You remember those? ARNTZ? One of the early replicas. And I'm like, what is that? That car was so awesome. And he's like, well, you know, you can build this car if you put a 351 Cleveland in, it'll do 180 miles an hour. And I still remember the thing. I'm like, an Arntz Cobra. I want an Arntz Cobra. That's what I thought the car was. Okay, so now fast forward 5, 6 years, I'm in junior high. And I go out with some friends. There was the movie theater on the outside of town, you know, the movie theater. That was a drive-in movie theater that showed the B-grade movies that your parents wouldn't let you see. Like Dirty Harry, and, you know, the R-rated stuff, and the pom-pom girls, and, you know, those kind of things. And I went out there with my friends one night, and there was a movie playing called the Gumball Rally. They were looking for TNA, I was looking at Cobras, and I'm like, there's the Arntz Cobra. And it's the first time I saw the car in action, and if you haven't seen the movie, you got to watch it, because it's like 2 hours of just Cobra and Ferrari, with a little bit of Camaro thrown in. And it absolutely changed the way I looked at cars. I was a Cobra nut from then on. Still thought it was an Arntz Cobra. Didn't know anything about, I didn't know who Carroll Shelby was, never heard of him at that point. Now fast forward into college. In my first year of college, I'm wasting time in the library because I don't really know what I want to do. I was a musician, and I loved cars, and I'm in college. So I'm skipping classes, and I'm spending time reading automotive books in the library. And this is where I'm getting my automotive background. Come to find out, I use it all the time when I write historical pieces and that kind of thing. Now, in the library, there was the automotive books, and then right beside that was the history and natural history and animal books. And sometimes they got mixed up. So I'm sitting there reading books, and I come to this one called The Cobra Story. I'm like, oh, it's about snakes. I like snakes. I'll read this book. I open it up, and has anybody read The Cobra Story? Carol Shelby's book? Are you familiar with it? If you're not, you've got to read it. Because it was an autobiography that was written by Carol in the 60s about the Cobra, the GT40, the whole thing, and all of a sudden, it all came together. It's not the Arns Cobra, it's the Shelby Cobra. And at that point, I knew what I wanted to do. I dropped out of college. I became a professional musician, and I started building cars for a living. And everything that you've seen from then, from the TV shows I've done for 22 years, all the vehicles I've built, everything to the moment that I'm standing right here is based off of that influence of that book and those people, Carol Shelby. So, don't underestimate the influence that you have on somebody. And I got a chance to meet Carol just before he died, just in passing, but I did get a chance to meet him. And I never got a chance to really to talk to him because at that point, you know, he was surrounded at SEMA by people and stuff all the time. But at least I got a chance to meet him. And really, he wanted to talk about chili, which I tried some of his chili one time. Whoa. It was like his cars. It was hot. Woo. But anyway, you know, I say that to say that I'm not the only one that was influenced by him and his cars. You guys, everybody in this room was influenced the same way as I was, or you wouldn't be here. And that parking lot would not be full of these cars. And if you haven't noticed, you're not the most normal people. You know, seriously, think about the car. Big side pipes and stripes and loud and nasty, and everything about it is like exactly what people should be. But everybody forgets. And it's like, I keep telling people, it's like if you take the spice that's in this room out, we're really boring. You know, and it's like we need to have more of that magic out there, people that are willing to do that. Because if you go in the parking lot, most cars are black, white, or silver, which is gray, which is a combination of black and white. All the great colors are not, you know, they're on the 60s muscle cars or on your Cobras. And I want to encourage you guys, be that different. You know, embrace that. And you really don't need any pushing to do that, because I'm sitting there watching you guys ripping these cars. It was a great experience. And I really want to push the rest of the hot rod world to do what I saw today. Because most of those guys get out and look at their cars. You guys drive them. And it is really a unique deal. Very. And it has not been an easy path, because I was there when the kit car kind of started. The kit car. The kit car. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, with the bad fit. Remember the Gazelles? Yeah, the little Mercedes-looking Gazelle had the Volkswagen motor in the back and the fiber fab stuff, and yeah. And the fittings that looked like they came from the hardware store. Yeah, it was a dark era, and the thing is, it was really hard to go from that. There's still people that kind of look at a kit car as not a real car. And for you guys that are just getting into this, it wasn't like maybe 10 years ago that people still would go, so is that a fake? Now listen, you put your heart and soul into a car, the last thing you want anybody to say is it's a fake. That's fighting words. And, well, seriously, but people didn't understand because they were thinking about the old nasty stuff. And there's so much that we have to be thankful for this industry, for the manufacturers, you know, the Hurricanes and the Factory Fives and the Superformances that have brought these cars up to the level they are. Has anybody spent any time in an original Cobra? Not a big, nice experience, is it? Yeah. Yeah. You might as well lay on a bed of nails. Yeah. Yeah. Compared to what's out there now and what you guys are driving today, It's fantastic stuff, and it is slowly, just like in the street rod world, eventually people started to go, you know, it doesn't matter if the cars are fiberglass instead of steel. It doesn't matter if they're a replica or not. They're a Cobra. And I don't know if you guys realize just how unique that is. People see your car and they say, that's a Cobra. You know, that's not, the muscle car world still doesn't have that yet. That's not a CUDA. That's just a Barracuda. You know, and seriously, you guys know what I'm talking about. So this industry is very special, and that has come through you guys working hard and manufacturers building the products that make these cars possible. So I encourage you, man, keep moving forward with that, because I can't tell you how many young people that I saw and came up to me today going, I want a Cobra. And I'm talking, these are Fast and Furious generation guys. The street rod world can't get those guys. They're trying. But what's happened is the street rod world has gotten really expensive, and Grandpa's got the 32 Ford out there, and he doesn't want anybody to touch it. Where you guys are like, right in the car, Frank. You know? But I love that. I had an uncle like Frank, man. Hey, here's a $100 bill on the dash, son, so you can pick that thing up. Yeah. Yeah, he also did the pull my finger thing. Now, tell me you didn't do that. All right. Anyway, I just want to end up with telling you guys that, you know, we look at Carroll Shelby, we look at Bob Bondurant, and you look at Ken Miles and these legends, and it's easy to look at them as legends, and they are, but you guys need to realize that you are part of that legend now, and you are carrying it forward, and you are part of that, and the more you dig into that, the more influence you're going to have as this thing goes forward, because it's gotten bigger than this. I look at this like Beatlemania. It got bigger than the Beatles. You know, when Jimi Hendrix set his guitar on fire, that got bigger than Jimi Hendrix ever was. And when Carroll Shelby built the Cobra, this thing has gone far beyond what Carroll dreamed. And you guys have that now. You guys are carrying that. So I want to encourage you guys to keep moving forward with that. And once again, encourage these young people to get out there, do something, teach them to build something with their hands, because there's nothing like that. And remember that you never know who is watching. There's always somebody watching you. Now you may think, oh look at me. Nobody cares what I. Listen, there's always somebody watching you. There's always somebody watching what you're doing, how you're reacting, how you're handling things, what kind of car you drive, all that kind of stuff. I encourage you, show them something good.